But first, we start tonight at Mount Ruapehu with revelations that following the death of an 11-year-old girl in a crash 2 months ago, the bus operator's ageing shuttle bus fleet is now being replaced. Ruapehu Alpine Lifts has acknowledged that buses older than 10 years are not suitable for the mountain, and neither are two-wheel drives. This comes as a former RAL bus driver says two-wheel drives should never have been used as passenger shuttles. Exactly 2 months ago today, on Saturday, July the 28th, a two-wheel drive, 14-year-old bus carrying 31 people flipped onto its side, coming down Mount Ruapehu. First responders have described carnage on arrival, the road covered in glass and metal, people bloodied and with broken bones. Tragically, the crash took the life of 11-year-old Hannah Francis. Early reports were that the bus's brakes failed, and here on Checkpoint we reported that the bus in question had previously failed its certificate of fitness 9 times. But the bus operator, Ruapehu Alpine Lifts, or RAL, which also runs the Turoa and Whakapapa ski fields, has been silent since then, and its bus fleet has disappeared. So where are the buses that are now being retired, and what happened in the crash? Here's Zac Fleming and our cameraman Nick Monro.
These buses should be carting skiers and snowboarders up Mt Ruapehu. They are, or more accurately were, part of Ruapehu Alpine Lifts' free shuttle bus service, which cost the company $850,000 a year. Now they sit in RAL's yard while the police investigate the company over a fatal bus crash that killed a young girl from Auckland. The bus came careening around this corner halfway down Ohakuni Mountain Road, carrying 31 people. It had no working brakes, and the driver, in an attempt to slow it down, smashed into the barrier arms. But unfortunately, he lost control, and the bus ended up here on its side. You can still see the damage on the road and the blue markings from the police investigation. And exactly 2 months on, there are still tributes here to 11-year-old Hannah Francis, who tragically lost her life. And if this teddy bear and these flowers symbolise a refusal to forget what happened here, they also symbolise a want to know the why. Why weren't the bus's brakes working? A Mitsubishi Fuso, the bus was imported from Japan in 2004 and had failed its COF certificate of fitness 9 times. And from speaking to former RAL staff, that's not extraordinary for the company's fleet.
Most of the exhaust brakes didn't work on the two-wheel drive buses. Often the handbrakes didn't work, sometimes the horns didn't work. I mean, they weren't up to COF standard most of the time I was driving them.
Lucy Conway drove for RAL in 2011 and 2012, so things could have improved in the 6 years since. But Lucy is filling the void created by RAL's silence. The company's hidden behind the police investigation for 2 months now, defending its maintenance policies and fleet in the days immediately after the crash. It has since then unwaveringly used the investigation as an excuse to not answer follow-up questions. So here's Lucy filling that void.
They tried. The mechanics that were there when I was there, they tried constantly to fix the exhaust brakes, but nobody could. I don't think two-wheel drive Japanese import buses are suitable for that road, quite frankly, and that's basically why I left. It was just too scary.
And RAL seems to now agree with Lucy. In an email to shareholders last night ahead of its AGM tomorrow, the board's chair, Murray Gribbins, said lessons learned after the accident have seen the company retire all of its buses that are older than 10 years. RAL has ordered 6 new 4-wheel drive buses, which are expected to arrive next month as replacements. Back to Lucy. 6 years passed without major incident after she stopped driving for RAL, so she went 6 years without a need to talk to reporters. But she says RAL CEO Ross Copeland's response to the crash was her catalyst.
The reason that I spoke out first was because I saw Mr Copeland on TV talking about how their buses were well serviced, well maintained, checked daily, but where are they now? They've all disappeared. There's no buses.
Around 30 centimetres of snow's fallen at Ruapehu since Wednesday, and when Checkpoint visited there was snow at the bottom of Whakapapa village. A fresh dumping of snow like this is pretty uncommon here at Whakapapa for late September, but that's exactly what's happened here this spring. Yet on the road up to the ski field today there are no Ruapehu Alpine Lift buses to be seen. The only buses we have seen ferrying skiers and snowboarders up the mountain have been from competitors. So the two buses at the RAL yard just outside of Owakuni, why are these here? Well, all of RAL's fleet was taken offline immediately after the crash, pending mechanical checks by the NZTA and the police to see which ones were safe to keep going up and down the mountain. And any that weren't pink stickered should still be allowed to be running. But RAL say they voluntarily took their entire fleet offline pending the result of the final police investigation. So are these mechanically unsafe, or have they just been voluntarily taken off the road? We understand that one of them is for sale at the moment, but overarchingly we're left with far more questions than answers here. So we tried to go to the man who has the answers, Ross Copland, the chief executive of RAL. Tried being the operative word here. None of the RAL employees that Checkpoint spoke to apparently knew his schedule. Not even RAL's commercial manager, Cesar Piotto, who I ran into outside the company's Taupo office.
G'day, Zac. Ross, he's not quite here at the moment. Was he expecting you guys?
No, he wasn't.
No, so he's not in the office.
Okay. Do you know what time he's going to be in?
Don't, sorry, mate.
Mr. Copeland won't answer Checkpoint's calls. The public relations firm RAL has hired to deal with media has said it's difficult to track him down. But through that PR firm, he has repeatedly refused to be interviewed, and so has RAL board chair Murray Gribben. The police won't comment on the investigation other than to say it's ongoing. Ruapehu District Council doesn't believe the road played a part in the crash. Chief Executive Clive Manley says the council's roading managers have been assisting police.
The actual road itself was upgraded a couple of years ago, so we're reasonably confident that it wasn't a fault in the road that contributed to it.
Which leaves the driver and the bus. And because RAL won't comment, here's that void being filled again, this time by Mr. Manley.
Hindsight's a really good thing to focus your mind. It's terrible for the family involved, so there's no good side to an accident. However, it does make us look with a lot sharper mind of things you can do. Some of those older buses, are they the best ones for that environment? And that's what is being looked at the moment. What kind of buses should be the ones?
And RAL clearly now believes that 14-year-old two-wheel drive buses, like the one that 11-year-old Hannah Francis died riding while on a family ski trip, aren't the right ones. For Checkpoint, Zac Fleming.